Hey everyone, I'm glad you're watching this. I think it's important to have good reading strategies, and that's what we're going to go over right now. There should be some music playing in the background. All right. I made a presentation to go through a few of my favorite reading strategies. We've already talked about annotation, but there's more than just annotation when it comes to reading. So let's see if I can get there. There we go. First, go on Canvas and open the document. You could pause the video right now. I want you to look at the document I put up. It's titled Blonda, The Other Side Is Not Dumb, First Lines. That's what we're going to be looking at. If you don't want to open it, I'll also have it on the slideshow, but it might make it easier for you to follow along if you're reading it on your own. If that title isn't explanatory enough, what it means is I've taken one of your essays this week, Sean Blanda, The Other Side Is Not Dumb, and I've cut it down to only its first lines, because this reading first lines, I think, is an effective reading strategy. So we're going to do that together right now and see what we get from it. All right, let's go. It's instead of being like 5 pages long or whatever it is, it's 3 short slides, just a few sentences. Let's start. And as I go, I might pause and like point out things that I think, oh, that might be important, or that seems like a key idea. Okay. The Other Side Is Not Dumb by Sean Blanda. There's a fun game I like to play in a group of trusted friends called Controversial Opinion. Usually someone responds to an opinion with, oh my God, I had no idea you were one of those people. In psychology, the idea that everyone is like us is called false consensus bias. It seems like a key idea. The idea that everyone is like us or not like us seems important. Online, it means we can be blindsided by the opinions of our friends, or more broadly, America. What is emerging, this sounds important, what is emerging is the worst kind of echo chamber, so something bad. One where those inside are increasingly convinced that everyone shares their worldview, that their ranks are growing when they aren't. So echo chamber is kind of a key phrase here. If you didn't know what that was and you're reading first lines, you might want to look that up. It means when you're in a chamber with other people that share your opinions, and so all you hear is your own opinions that you like, your own biases, and you reinforce those opinions. It's like if you're a liberal and all you read is CNN. We also call this preaching to the choir. You might have heard that. Continuing. Frederick de Boer, one of my favorite writers around, touched on this in his essay, Getting Past the Coalition of the Cool. When someone communicates that they are not, quote, on our side, our first reaction is to run away or dismiss them as stupid. This is not a political correctness idea or issue. What happens instead of genuine intellectual curiosity is the sharing of Slate or Daily Cause or Fox News or Red State links. So those, hopefully you're familiar with those now, those very biased websites. Sharing links that mock a caricature of the other side isn't signaling that we're somehow more informed. It's impossible to consider yourself a curious person and participate in social media in this way. On Twitter and Facebook, this means that we prioritize by sharing stuff that will garner the approval of our peers over stuff that's actually, true. But I'd like to go a step further. Isn't it possible that you, reader of Medium and Twitter power user like me, suffer from this from time to time? Think political correctness has gotten out of control? As any debate club veteran knows, if you can't make your opponent's point for them, you don't truly grasp the issue. That seems like a pretty key point. If you can't have some understanding of the other side of the argument, maybe you aren't fully aware of the whole issue. Continuing. A dare for the next time you're in discussion with someone you disagree with, don't try to win. Or the next time you feel compelled to share a link on social media about current events, ask yourself why you are doing it. I implore you to seek out your opposite. Okay, that's the whole essay, only reading the first lines. Yes, it's a little confusing. It's not coherent or as clear as if you read the whole essay. But consider this, each one of those lines represents an entire paragraph. We were able to just go through it in a couple minutes, and we were able to sort out what seemed like important ideas from the rest. And what it seemed like the essay is talking about is there are two sides. It's a tendency in society is for us to kind of just stay on our one side and insult the other side. But maybe we shouldn't do that, right? So the point of skimming like this, well, there's a few points. First of all, it saves time. You want to do the reading quick, skim. I would suggest if you want to do this more effectively, read the first line and last line of each paragraph. Then you'll get kind of the main point and the conclusion of each paragraph. But if you're in a crunch, you need to read a long book, a huge amount of essays. This is a great way to get through stuff. Capture some of the key points and have a effective understanding of what you're reading. It also, skimming an essay also helps us find big picture ideas. A lot of times authors will put their main ideas at the beginning sentence of a paragraph. And so if you skim like that, you can find those ideas. Instead of what happens to a lot of readers is you read a really long essay, you just kind of get lost by the end. You think, what was I reading again? And so this leads to step 3. Pre-reading helps comprehension. So even if you're going to read the essay again, which you should, when you get a general idea for the flow of an essay, like, okay, I know what happens at the beginning, I know what happens at the middle, I know what happens at the end, you are not as likely to get lost. You'll have a better chance of understanding the whole essay. It's sort of like knowing if you're going to walk through a forest, knowing places where there's a boulder or a cabin or little trail markers will kind of keep you focused on the trail and help you find your way. So that's kind of what that does. There are a few other reading strategies that I think are important. The number one is you have to read for pleasure. That just means read all the time. A lot of people in these first year English classes don't like reading. They've never had a connection with it. Well, you want to change that? Just read what you like. Read magazines, read comic books, read the liners of a record, or I guess known as records or CDs anymore. Read mysteries if you like mysteries. You don't need to read stuff that challenges you and hurts your brain every time. Read stuff that's fun. Read a crazy vampire novel. Read, read, read. Another great reading strategy is to work on your stamina. It's just like exercise and doing reps. Each time you read, find out how long you're reading before you're kind of getting dazed. Stop yourself. Get a snack. Next time you read, try to go a little longer. Get rid of distractions. Treat it like you're training for something. That's going to help you be a better reader. And then there's more methods. If you want to improve your vocabulary, I would suggest circling words, like annotating and then looking them up afterwards, because you can go really slow down if you're looking up every single word as you go. Also summarize. That's kind of what I did after I read those first lines of Blanda's essay, is I tried to summarize what I thought the essay was about. You could also do that after reading a paragraph. Ask yourself, what was that paragraph trying to say? This also helps you with paraphrasing and explaining key points. Also vocalize. This is good for reading if you want to, A, stay awake while you're reading, B, have an understanding. You'll hear the flow of the language out loud. It can be easier. And also, this is a great thing to do if you're trying to edit your own work and find awkward sentences. Reading out loud is really effective. Okay. So I hope that gives you some insight into ways that you can read more effectively, become a better reader, and hopefully at the end of the day, have fun with it and know that you're growing as a person the more you read. It's like eating healthy food or doing exercise. Well, that's it for my presentation. If you have questions, let me know. I hope you had fun. I sure did. See you later.